re-releases of existing kits where they don't put V2 at the end, or they don't put V1.5. It's the same kit, well, same name, just packaged into a kit. What's the point of doing that? Well, you don't see that happening often, and one of the main reasons that companies decide to basically re-release an existing mod under the same name but as a kit is because they've done something to the underlying technology of that mod that makes it different from the previous existing mod. This is the Lost Vape GRUS. We all recognise the shape of it. It's no different from the existing Lost Vape GRUS that's already out on the market. But the reason they've re-released this as a kit, even though the original one was kind of released as a kit as well at the back half of its first release cycle, but the reason that they're remarketing this as the Lost Vape GRUS kit is because what they've done inside. They've ditched the older platform of board and chips that the GRUS was already using, and they've decided to go down the road of merging the line of the GRUS mod with the same line of board and chip that the Quest series is running on. That Quest mod with the 2 replaceable tanks, the replaceable build platform, and the replaceable 510 plate. That Quest that we looked at, the Ursa Quest, that's the name I was looking for, but that's what they've done with the GRUS. They've basically popped the same Quest board and chip line into this, and they've decided, rather than calling it the GRUS 2 or the GRUS 1.5, which wouldn't really make much sense because the outside of the mod hasn't changed, they've re-released it as a brand new kit package. And that's what we're looking at today. The question is, how much of a difference, if any, is there between this GRUS and the original one? Only one way to find out. It's time for a kit review. So, the Lost Vape GRUS kit. Now this had me scratching my head, I'll be honest. This is, by the way, either the first of 2 or the last of 2 Lost Vape products we're looking at this week. They actually fast-tracked both of them, which I was kind of surprised at. I thought they would just fast-track the one, but no, they fast-tracked the both of them, which means they wanted the reviews out very quick for these. But I was kind of surprised at this because on first glance, let's pop this pod tank off first of all, right? First glance, what you're looking at is the GRUS, which we've already looked at before, so we're not going to be concentrating too much on the GRUS. But the overall general spec email sheet that I got in for the GRUS, it still takes the 21700s, right? If we take the battery compartment or the battery door, I hate this style of battery door, by the way. If we take the battery door off, it still takes 21700s. So here we go. Molly cell, INR 21700, positive down, negative up, and as you can see it fits in just fine. You still get the 18650 adapter, which the old GRUS had as well. The overall look and the overall feel and just design of the mod is exactly the same as the old GRUS with the massive 510 plate at the top. However, the main difference between the old GRUS and the new GRUS is what's going on in here. This is using the new Quest 2.0 chipset, which is it's not just a firmware overhaul, it's a brand new chip. Totally brand new chip, brand new board from the folks over at Lost Vape. They've managed to keep the screen as close as they possibly could to the original layout of the Lost Vape GRUS, so people wouldn't get too lost. But the big update for this is not just the fact that it's a new board and chip. They have overhauled temp control and basically done temp control from the beginning. It's a whole new algorithm. This is what I've been hearing from the spec sheets. It's a whole new temp control algorithm sitting in here compared to the old Lost Vape GRUS. Because the one thing I did notice with some of the Lost Vape products, not so much with the GRUS though, because the Quest 1 chip is actually quite good, but the one thing that I've noticed with Lost Vape products using their own boards and chips is the temp control had a tendency to drift. It wasn't a massive drift, it was a very short drift.
but it did have a tendency to drift slightly, especially if you were on stainless steel 316. You would notice that one hit it would be relatively warm. The next hit it would feel maybe a touch cooler. Then the next hit back to relatively warm again. To me it drifted a little bit, but apparently the Quest 2 chip in here has fixed all that. We'll have a quick look at the menu, but nothing much is going to have changed, let's be honest here, folks. Power button, main screen, up, down, and your menu selector is here, power. There we go. You have got all of these settings here, which hasn't really changed much. We'll go into settings, atomizer. Yeah, this is just measuring the atomizer. Screen. This is the screen brightness. I'm just going to crank this all the way up because I'm blind. Oops. Idiot. There we go. Colour. Yeah, this hasn't changed either. Purple, green, red. Who the hell's going to use red? You can't see anything. White, that's the one I like to use. Yellow and a kind of azure blue, back to white. User, this is all the different settings that you can pop into here for all the memory settings. Reset, I'm not going to do that. About and back. If we head back up to the top here, you've got power. You've got stainless steel 904. I don't know anyone that still uses 904 for temp control. Surprised they've left it in there. Stainless steel 316, that's the common one. Titanium, does anyone actually use titanium these days? Nickel 200, VPC, that's for your curves and stuff. Voltage, bypass, and then we're back to power. So the main layout and main theme and the menus do look different with the Quest 2 lineup, but the options that were in the original GRUS is in here with the Quest 2.0. The only difference is the temp control's been completely overhauled in this, which means I'm going to have fun with the temp control test, this coming week. By the way, this is being recorded a full week before the actual review goes up, because I'm taking care of some backlog going on here with the table cam stuff. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the temp control test for this actually pans out. And no doubt you'll find out about the temp control testing that I done when we head back up to the main cam again. But there's the GRUS. Nothing's changed. They aren't calling it the GRUS 2. They're not calling it the GRUS 1.5. It's just a re-release of the original GRUS. Now we're on to this. Look! A big silicone rubber bung because of the stupid laws we've got here in the UK and EU. It's basically a pod tank, folks. So pop your juice in there. Nice big wide open hole. You have got, at the very top of this, a full 810 connection, which is a thumbs up for a plastic pod tank. You've got your full airflow control down here as well. Airflow hole there, airflow hole there, airflow hole there for 3 air holes. Open this up. Down here at the base, this is where your coil goes in now. You can get in here. Now, before anyone starts, I'm not saying to people in the EU and UK, go on, break the law, take out the rubber bung, but I'm just pointing out, for the sake of the table cam section, you could probably get in there with thin tweezers and pull out the rubber bung through there to get more capacity in the tank. Just saying. I'm not saying to actually do it, because of course that would be breaking EU TPD and UK TRPR law. But if you want to do it, there's a big hole there where you can pull out the rubber bung. Thank you. Anyway, massive gaping hole where you pop the coil in. So, where the hell did I put the coils? Here they are. These are surprisingly big coils for a pod tank, right? These are very surprisingly big coils for a pod tank. Look at the size of them. They almost look like UL coils for the UL, not the Crown 5, for the UL Crown 4. So let's pop this open and we'll see what coils Lost Vape are packaging with this. Pop this to one side, pull the zoom all the way in. 0.15, that is very low. 70 to 90 watts, nickel 80, or nichrome 80, not nickel 80, nichrome 80. And it's a wide bore they've got going on with the mesh. The other coil, 0.3 ohms, 60 to 70 watts, and they've got this listed with temperatures, which means this is a stainless steel 904. So that's why they've got the 904 setting in here, because they're doing stock coils with 904L stainless steel. And if we spin this round, it's another wide open mesh, and these coils essentially just go like this. They just shove straight into here like that. Base goes on, and that's you ready to go. But I am surprised at the size of these coils, because here's the thing, these coils are going to generate a lot of heat, and what I'm worried about is this. Anyway, the testing's coming up over the next week, so again, when we head up to the main cam, you'll find out what I thought about how this tank can actually handle the heat. What I'm guessing here though is a lot of the base of this tank, this part here, and this whole ridge here is metal, so that's going to draw the heat away from the coil and pump it into the massive base plate for the 510 at the top. So I don't think the actual plastic is going to suffer that much from the heat coming from the coil itself, but again, we'll find out in the week testing coming up. Anyway, that was the Lost Vape GRUS kit. Very interesting tank. Let's head back up top again.
If you're liking the content on this channel, not just the reviews, but the news stuff, and of course the live shows, and of course the What's Up Sunday update vlog, and all the ECig 101 videos, and you want to consider supporting Vaping With Vic financially, if you head to vapingwithvic.co.uk/support, you will find multiple ways, either via Patreon, the YouTube membership subscription system, or other ways to actually support Vaping With Vic financially. This is a full-time job for me, folks, and what I'm sitting in right now is a studio that I'm renting out in an office building in the town that I'm living in. For more information on where your money's actually going to go, because you'll want to know where your money's going to go, let's be honest, folks, if you do decide to join Patreon, for instance, again, head on to vapingwithvic.co.uk/support and have a look at the video at the top. Back onto the review. And we're back up top with the Lost Vape GRUS kit. So, new atomizer, what we're going to do with this, probably going to be pushing the coil a little bit too hard doing this, but well, fuck it, we'll give it a try anyway. We're going to be doing this, we're going to crank this all the way up to its max wattage on the mod, which is 100 watts. I've got a freshly charged 21700 in here from Molicel. I have got the airflow control in the tank fully open. The coil's not rated for this, right? The coil that I've got in here is not rated for this. Its max rating is 80 watts, but it's only an extra 20. It's not as if the tank's going to explode in my face. Here we go. That's rather toasty. Yes. That is rather toasty. That's it with the airflow control fully open as well. Maybe a little bit too toasty. Hold on, I'm bumping the power back down again. Let's go for what the coil, well, a little bit below what the coil's rated for. We'll go for 70 watts. Here we go. That's a lot better. And there we go, folks. That was the up close and personal of the Lost Vape GRUS kit. What do we think of this? The eyes and the nose. We'll start off with the mod, because that's the easiest bit. That's the easiest road to go down first. If you've got the original GRUS, which I've got, but it's up at the house, that's why I never compared it side by side on the table cam, because I left the original one up in the house. If you've got the original GRUS and you're comparing it to the new iteration, it's not the GRUS 2, it's not the GRUS 1.5, it's still called the GRUS. Basically, this is replacing the original one. On the outside, there isn't much of a difference. There really isn't much of a difference. If you put the two mods side by side, they both basically look the same. There might be minor differences in some aspects of the looks, but they're basically the same mod. Where it's changed is in here. They've went for the updated version of the Quest chip, and there's another mod that's using that same chip. Where are we? It's this, which we all recognise. It's the Ursa. This is the Ursa Quest, the rather interesting kind of 510 plate, 2 rebuildable tanks, and stock coil head, all-in-one system that Lost Vape released at the back half of last year. The chip that's in this is the same chip that's now in this. That's basically the biggest change that they've done. And I think one of the major reasons that Lost Vape decided to go down that road is that they want to basically amalgamate their main lines of mods into the same chip family. So they've ditched the original older board and chip that was in the original GRUS, and they went down the road of the Quest line of chips. This has got the Quest 2.0 board and chip in here, which is basically what's inside the Ursa Quest, except it's a slightly older version of the version 2. And that's essentially what they've done, folks. I could tell no difference at all, testing this power-wise against the original Ursa. Not the original Ursa, against the original GRUS. And we already know that when it comes to the Quest line of boards and chips, the temp control's spot on. I did do a very, very quick test with the temp control in this thing up at the house during Thursday and Friday of last week. I couldn't find anything wrong with the temp control in this at all. It acts exactly the same as the Ursa line did when it came to temp control. So, pound for pound, monetary-wise, you're basically getting the same mod. If you buy this, and you've already got the original version of the GRUS, you're basically buying the same mod. Sure, the screen might look a little bit different, but the mod performs exactly the same way. Now on to this. Why did they go with a plastic tank? You know what I mean? Okay, they want to do the whole pod tank, because that seems to be the hip, trendy thing to do these days when it comes to kits. But if you're releasing a mod that looks as good as this, and then you put a cheap, pishy plastic tank on top of it, that doesn't look good. What I would have expected from Lost Vape is a brand new GRUS, stock coil, sub-ohm tank with a glass tank on it, and not one of these plastic pod tank things that people are getting fucking tired of looking at. Because the trouble with these plastic tanks is they simply don't last long. They really don't last long compared to a good, solidly built, glass-based tank. Now again, the coils from Lost Vape, zero complaints. Just like the UB Light that I'm also looking at from Lost Vape this week. Where Lost Vape shine with their stock coil kits is the stock coils. They've always been good at the manufacturing of stock coils. Good flavour, wicking is spot on, zero complaints with the tank. In fact, the only complaint with the tank I've got is more of this plastic pod tank garbage. I want a glass tank. That's what I want for these kits now. Get away from the pod tank just to save money and actually get a real glass-based stock coil sub-ohm tank, because if you ask me, that plastic tank is letting down the overall look of this kit. It is, because the mod itself is gorgeous. Then you look at this lump of plastic stuck in top of it. No, glass tank. That's what you needed for the release of this kit. Anyway. Just the flavour. Flavour from this thing is absolutely phenomenal. Kind of flavour you would expect from a Lost Vape coil. That was the brand new Lost Vape GRUS kit. Now again, as far as I know, right, I'm not fully sure about this, but as far as I know, this newer variant of the GRUS is only currently in kit form. So you can only get it like this, right? You can only get it like this. Sometime down the road, probably in about 2 or 3 months' time, what Lost Vape will end up doing is getting rid of this plastic thing and releasing the mod by itself. What they're waiting for, however, is for the older stocks of the original GRUS line to go out of stock in the warehouses before they release the GRUS mod by itself. But if you're worried about that, don't be. If you've got the original GRUS and you buy this, you're not going to notice much of a difference. You'll notice a big difference with the screen, but you won't notice much of a difference in the way it performs. The older line of boards and chips that Lost Vape were using for the GRUS compared to the newer line of board and chips that Lost Vape were using for the Ursa Quest. The only major difference, technically speaking, between the two was the Quest which is what's in here now, the Quests seem to have nailed temp control a little bit better when it came to stainless steel 316. That was the only major difference I came across when it came to the testing of the two major board and chip lines for Lost Vape, right? But now that problem's gone because they're going with the Quest board and they're dropping the older series of boards from their lineups altogether, which kind of makes sense from Lost Vape side of things. Anyway, that was the up close and personal of the Lost Vape GRUS kit. Big thanks to Lost Vape for sending it over for a review. If you thought this review sucked, you know what to do down below. Thought it was good, give it a thumbs up. Very fast at the top, you've got the latest video, no matter what video you're watching in the channel. I need that latest What's Up Sunday update vlog in the middle. Shout out to the hashtag FluFarmy, the Patreon subscribe stars and the YouTube members for supporting Vaping Vic financially. That's what's keeping this studio open. And underneath me is the Vaping Vic logo. Click on that to subscribe. As always, folks, thanks for watching and have a good one.